Hello everybody and welcome back to another video. My name is Zach, otherwise known as Pulpy Syntax, and today I look a bit different. Don't be afraid, it's still me. After recording and editing my video yesterday, I realized that my hair was kind of getting a bit out of control, as was my beard. So I attacked myself with a set of clippers, and this is the result. I also put up a lighting rig because more people than I thought were watching these videos now, so I felt like I should add a level of professionalism while I dunk on people. I'm not dunking on people. Today we're going to be looking at a video from December 30, 2019. A commenter had brought up the fact, we were in discussion previously in regards to a video of Chantel saying that she wanted to go to these hotels and review their room service, which I thought was an awful idea because as someone who works in hotels and in fine dining, I find her perspective on food and potentially the service industry not great. So yes, this video is from about a year ago, the same time she went to her last hotel, and it's called Sharing Some Thoughts. And I wanted to also share some thoughts because yesterday, maybe the day before. It's strange with the time zones. I've just woken up and the birds are chirping. Earlier in the week, Foodie had basically said, well, guys, I'm going to be going through my videos and I'll be removing some things and giving no reason. But the reason was because of Milk Tea Reacts and her conversation and her deep dive into Chantel's channel and just how much she banks on the use of the terms binge and help specifically within her videos to get views, basically. So Chantel's kind of gone half scorched earth and removed a lot of the videos that may be viewed as problematic or potentially breaching TOS. We don't know. Well, I don't know. Someone will let me know. So this is sharing some thoughts from December last year. And I believe this does have a little bit more of a somber tone to it. So with all of that being said, let's get into the video. As always, we are sped up, and I'm realizing that the last time I had a discussion with Chantel, she called me a brainless amoeba with no life. So I'm in a good mood.
Hey guys. So,
hey Chantel.
I don't even know where to start with this video. I just wanted to talk in front of my new mukbang background.
Ooh.
A bit about how I'm feeling and just be completely
This was the
real
old
with you
house?
guys.
Old house, I think.
Just speak my thoughts because, man, yesterday I just hit a really bad depression moment, and I wanted to turn on the camera, kind of document how I'm feeling, and I was feeling alone. I know I live with BB.
Last year.
I feel like
old house.
He doesn't really understand mental illness. I feel like people who don't really truly suffer with it, with depression.
I'll stop it here. Didn't realize that we were going to go straight into the trigger warning section of the video. So my apologies to anyone who may find this upsetting, but Chantel, aka Miss Foodie Beauty, is going to be telling us about her mental health.
Just crippling depression. Really only understand it so much, which is fine.
I'm trying not to be cruel. Does Foodie understand crippling depression and mental health? Some would argue it, like her actions over the last year. So let's just take like the last year as a kind of snapshot. 12 months from when this was shot. Has she exhibited signs of depression? Yeah, I mean, I'd say so. Has she done anything to actively address it within her lifestyle? No, I would say no. It doesn't seem like, I mean, she does talk about medication here and there. I don't know whether or not she's in any form of therapy, and she probably wouldn't talk about that regardless. Has she shown any improvement, I guess, is really the question that I want to frame this video with? Has she made improvement?
And I know I have friends, but I just don't feel comfortable talking to them about my situation for some reason. My family I do, but I don't want to worry them, you know?
You can pay someone. They'll listen to you.
So I just wanted to talk about, I guess, yesterday I was...
And I'll say this, if you think you're dealing with depression, or if you have depressed moments, or if you're like, how do I say it? It's such a prickly topic. So my understanding of both anxiety and depression is that everybody experiences it, right? It's a roller coaster. That's kind of life. These are the emotions that we deal with. We have periods of anxiety, which is a holdover from an evolutionary trait of the fight or flight mechanic, which is essentially you're in a position and your body needs to be like primed, right? And that's what anxiety is. It's the heightened senses. It's a higher heart rate. It's mental alertness. That it is the purpose of anxiety. Anxiety has a purpose. Depression, I also believe, has a purpose, and I think it's about rebalancing the hormones in the brain. I'm not 100% sure, and I'm not a mental health professional. If you want to fact check me, feel free. I'd love to have a discussion. But that is my general kind of understanding of these human traits. Oh, I'm gonna get sweaty under these lights, guys. Well, I have this semi-serious discussion. However, if you feel as if you're peaking more into your anxiety, or you're hitting your depressions lower, if you think of it as a graph and you're realizing that your period of depression is going, like your level of depression is deeper and it's extending beyond what you consider normal or what you have experienced in the past, absolutely book in to see someone. And you can talk to your friends and you can talk to your family. And I'm a big advocate for talking about mental health and mental illness. I've said before, my mum works as a mental health nurse, or has worked as a mental health nurse for, a lot of the time when I was growing up. And she would always try to teach me that talking about it is really important, because everything that is kept inside, no one can see. And a lot of mental health is invisible. Or considered an invisible illness. So talking about it's great. You still have to act on your self-reflections.
And symptoms of depression. And I think it was a mixture of things. Things that are just really hard for me to talk about, and I've just been kind of, I've said this in a previous video, I'm sure. I feel like my food addiction, which I deny having a lot of the time, or I feel like I can control.
It's curious that she's bringing it up in this video and it hasn't been deleted, because from my understanding, a lot of the videos that she's removed have been discussions in regards to her addiction, because YouTube not super friendly about showcasing addictive issues and users. Let's just call it what it is, right? Like if you're a food addict and you're filming yourself doing a mukbang and you're making money from it, you're a user. You're using and you're monetarily gaining from that. The birds are in agreement.
Just keeps winning and winning. And the big part of me just doesn't care sometimes. But on top of that, I'm going through is not knowing how to get help for it. I feel like
book in somewhere, see your family doctor or GP.
I'm being seen by a psychiatrist at the Center for Eating Disorders.
December last year, this was happening. So what happened in the last 11 months? Did she just stop going? I'm assuming she stopped going. I don't know the timeline. I'm not a Chantel historian. And for those of you who are, let me know what happened here.
The psychiatrist specializes in eating disorders, and I'm not blaming anybody for this. I'm just going to
your
share
own actions.
What my experience is trying to get help. All of these centers for eating disorders here in my city seem to focus around bulimia and anorexia. That's what they mention on their website, the dangers of it. It seems like overeating and food addiction is not recognized in the medical society.
That's fine, and it is, well, okay, I don't agree with that. It is, I assume it is generally recognized. The small amount of research I've done on binge eating disorder is that there are a lot of discussions within the health sphere about how challenging it is to diagnose. So it absolutely is a thing. How you go about diagnosing it is kind of up for discussion, or maybe the best way to diagnose it, because it is a really hard thing to do, right? We all need to eat. Chantel is 100% correct on that. We all need to. And to be fair, a lot of clinics would be handling bulimia and anorexia, because I'd say they're easier to diagnose than binge eating disorder, first of all, and probably more likely and more immediately impactful on an individual's health than binge eating. You could argue I'm wrong there. However, I would say that having a binge eater and having an anorexic individual, an individual who suffers with anorexia, who needs help fastest, I would argue the case for anorexia bulimia.
Officially, obesity is, but obesity seems to be an eating disorder, unlike anorexia and bulimia. It seems
obesity is not an eating disorder. I think she just misspoke.
More that the onus is more on the individual to change, and it's not seen as something that needs medical intervention in the same way as bulimia and anorexia. And
I'd say yes.
That's frustrating, because there is of course bariatric surgery, but yes, they kind of contradict themselves, because they say without, you need to address the issues, the emotional issues, whatever the case may be, for your disorder with food.
Yeah, but I think that's the case for, again, I'm speaking off the cuff here, guys. If you want to do more research or you want to let me know your story in the comments below, please feel free. What was I going to say? This topic's prickly. Oh no, surgery is bariatric surgery. That's right. So you can't. Bariatric surgery is a tool, and we've had these discussions in the last couple of weeks, saying that you need to be approved for the surgery, and it's not about money, Amber, and it's not about wait lists and things like that. It's the approval process comes from a mental health perspective, to say, if we do this surgery on you, are you going to overeat and essentially like destroy your stomach? Is what bariatric surgery is the tool for. Didn't make a lot of sense, sorry guys. Caffeine. With anorexia and bulimia, I don't believe that there is a surgery that you can perform which will assist with that. It is primarily there may be physical issues. So say stomach ulcers, for instance. If you had stomach ulcers and you stopped eating, and therefore you were developing factors of anorexia, for whatever reason, that might be a thing. I don't know whether or not that would qualify as anorexia, which would purely be mental. I don't know. Have a chat below. Let me know.
Effective. It's not a cure-all. And it's like...
No, it's not.
But therapy is not provided.
So go and get therapy. I'm sure if you had a bariatric surgeon or you had a weight loss clinic, they would very happily give you a referral. Very happily give you a referral, because these people work in health and their whole purpose is the improved health of other individuals. They're not going to be like, well, you don't seem mentally sound, there's the door, bye.
very expensive. It's not provided for people with obesity-related eating disorders. And that's frustrating for me, and I feel left out, because even at the Center for Eating Disorders, when I go in there for my appointment, I see a big sign that says outpatient CBT therapy in room whatever, whatever. And then when I ask my psychiatrist about it, he just kind of shrugs it off and says, no, that's not for you. You know, you'll need to pay for, there's therapy, but you'll need to pay for it.
Yeah, because if it was outpatient CBT, it is likely designed for their clientele. She's not talking about going to a weight loss clinic. She's talking about going to a eating disorder practice or something, I think. I don't know. But yeah, if you went to that therapy, you would get nothing out of it, because their therapy is specifically designed for people suffering with anorexia, bulimia. What are you going to get out of that, Chantel? Like, they might cover the basics of what a healthy relationship with food is, but you won't, I don't think you'll benefit from that.
And I just feel like alone again.
It's the age of the internet. No one is ever truly alone anymore. It makes me feel for her. It does. And I will say that this is manipulative, perhaps. I mean, I do say that I enjoy looking at her videos where she shows more elements of humanity, and this is a very human conversation. But you're not alone, and I understand monetarily that you may not be in a position to seek, the best therapy, but there are community organizations out there to help you. You live in Canada, so you have that going for you at least. And Daddy Google pays you to sit on camera and eat burgers. So reinvest in yourself.
It's not that I can't pay for therapy. I mean, I don't make a ton of money off of YouTube. And I know I spend pretty much a lot of what I've been making, I spend back on food, which if I save on food, sure, maybe I could, yes. But
that would almost solve all of the problems, right? Less takeout, less monetizing the addiction, investing back in yourself, less calories. It's a win-win.
It's just the principle. It's like, why is mental health care not seen as important as regular medical health care? In Canada,
there's a lot of issues with that. I think from my perspective, it's that physical ailments are visible. That's the first thing. The second thing is that our culture is getting Western culture, is getting a lot better at taking the mental and being able to verbalize it, or to be able to communicate it, and saying, like, it's okay if you feel this way. Like, it's not normal if you have these thoughts. Like, it's abnormal. I don't mean to normalize a discussion about mental health. I think we're getting a lot better at that, but the foundation of our medical systems are built on physical first. If you I'd really love to know, because I know there are specific emergency situations for psychosis, but I'd love to look at the numbers, because I'd say there are not enough emergency psychosis wards compared to things like emergency wards, right? That there wouldn't be an equal amount.
We have socialized healthcare, which I'm very grateful for. You can say what you want about it. It's been wonderful for me. I don't have to pay for surgeries. I don't have to pay for emergency visits. I don't have to pay for a lot of things and go into more debt for that.
But therapy, more debt? How much debt is Foodie in here? Is there a story there? Ooh, eagle-eared viewer today. Yeah, she's very lucky with all of that being socialized healthcare. Yes. The therapy aspect of it, I'm so sure that there is an amount of coverage for therapy within the socialized healthcare sphere. Perhaps not because she's looking so specifically at binge eating, but she could at least start somewhere, you know.
Which I believe.
And she said she's going to see a psychiatrist. So So why is she not talking about this with a psychiatrist? Psychiatrist has said, no, you'll need to pay for that.
The human right, in my opinion. And so is...
Foodie Beauty out here telling us about human rights. All right. God, could you imagine if she lived in another country? Could you imagine if she experienced a different culture? Like, wow. The privilege of being able to sit here and monetize your addiction and then say mental health facilities are a basic human right. And I agree, they absolutely are. However, your actions and your words do not match up here.
Mental health. I think mental health needs a big improvement, and I think that some kind of therapy should be included in that for people's well-being. I think it would save like the country a lot of money in the long run.
Yes, there are studies to say that improved mental health increases like all sorts of GDP, economic impact, workplaces with a better mental health score or with like happier employees essentially show that they're more productive, there's more motivation, there's more ingenuity, all of those things. So can I agree with what she's saying here? In part.
Because a lot of these issues with food that they're spending hundreds of thousands of dollars on surgeries for is an emotional, mental thing. And
yes, but I know that I need that. You have to go through that before the surgery happens. Because if you don't, and then you just jump back on the let me eat a bag of Doritos horse, it undoes the physical, it will rupture your stomach, right? In some capacity, even if it's a lap band, it'll burst and you'll have to get that fixed. If it's bariatric, where they literally remove part of your stomach, right? Like you could rupture your stomach, and because that would be a surgical incision / stitch. What?
Help. So yeah, I mean, it's just these little frustration things. I just feel like, you know what I mean? Like I'm kind of alone in this.
No, you're not.
So there are times when I feel alone, and I know I've said that word a lot so far. And on top of all that, don't feel like I've fully processed my emotions since my surgery.
Hysterectomy.
I've always said, well, I don't want children, or I wasn't sure. And it's just like, and then I was feeling extra down, and then would see kids on the TV or people with a family, and I started crying, like without having any control over it. And, I told BB, I said, I remember looking up emotions of post-hysterectomy, and they were talking about grieving. You need time to grieve. And I just never thought of that. And I was like, I'm grieving. I feel whenever you lose somebody, for example, you grieve someone, it's that feeling of finality. It's final. You can't go back. There's nothing you can do about it. It's gone forever. That kind of feeling too.
Yeah. I feel like a lot of us would be confronted with that emotion before the surgery, but absolutely, like the grief is completely valid. I'm not a woman. I will never have children. I can't really speak on this too much. I will just say that therapy would have helped in this. And I wonder if there are things offered post-surgery, like follow-up, that's not physical, that's mental. Specifically for hysterectomy, because it is such a impactful. My mother has had a hysterectomy. Maybe I should ask her. Yeah, Mum had a hysterectomy last year, maybe the year before. It was just due to precancerous cells. Don't worry, she's fine.
Gone forever, but this is, I guess, in my case, my sexual organs.
She was not planning to have
gone
kids.
Forever. There's nothing you can do about it anymore.
Just
that finality, just, I guess, and I know that you can adopt and everything like that.
Yeah, and I'm a big fan of adoption. I probably won't be doing it myself, but who knows? Big fan of adoption. There are already too many mouths on this planet to feed, and too many people in horrible situations, and too many children who are born into horrible situations. So why not help them out? I know that biologically we want to pass on our genes and but
it's just, it's a grieving process.
I don't have that
I guess is what I'm saying, and I felt that yesterday more than I've ever felt since my surgery. So yeah, I just had a really bad moment with that yesterday, and I wanted to share that with you guys. I did film a McDonald's mukbang, and then I saw the poll about just the amount of people who prefer weight loss material over the mukbangs is just staggering.
Yeah.
And
me too.
So I just want to talk about how I'm feeling about that really for a few minutes.
Oh, good.
I always go back to mukbangs because
they're easy and you like it.
I feel like I see all these other people doing mukbangs, and a lot of them probably don't have the same issues with food that I do. And if I had never shared that part of my life with you guys, it probably wouldn't be the same.
But you do, and you have. Also, now we get to talk a little bit about media impact, or media's impact as a viewer, right? Okay. So as you develop and you increase your media consumption, say from childhood, right? As you grow, you become educated in the content that you absorb, right? And it's not the same for everybody, but it is a generally accepted idea that you become literate in media as a language. So you will see layout or design or specific effects, and you understand that language because you've experienced it before. The same, so, when you see a sitcom, like that 90s sitcom lighting style, the laugh track, like pretty much sitting at the back of your head if you watched, enough of that content. But you can also see a lot of subtleties that come in that. So script and blocking and editing, and you pick up all of this language inherently. It's not something you research, it's just something that you recognize. When she's sitting here talking about watching other mukbangers, I have to ask myself whether or not she does that for her own enjoyment, or she does it because she too is also a mukbanger and she's kind of, picking up the language and trying to incorporate it more into her channel. That is the first question that I ask. But there's also an issue with separating and understanding the reality of what you're seeing, right? This is why vlogging is so interesting, because it's a snapshot into someone's life, but it's heavily edited, heavily controlled. It's scripted for that one individual, and vloggers in particular are usually just one single person doing all of the work. So it's much more of a snapshot into an individual's life than what the content creator usually thinks it will be. Just sitting down and eating a Wendy's mukbang it's much more telling of that person, because you've got 3 years worth of media language that your audience has consumed and can see and can pick up on. So doing this with other mukbangers who don't have or don't talk about their mental health or whatever, I don't know if it's healthy for her to sit there and be watching something and say, I want to be like this person, when quite clearly she's suffering with mental health that she doesn't have a grasp on. And the media that she's watching isn't showcasing that mental health in any way. So she has no kind of reference to her own life.
But I kind of feel like a fool when I go back and edit my video, like my McDonald's one, which I decided I'm not going to upload, because I feel like a fool with so many people knowing what I'm really going through. And
so she made this video instead.
Sitting there like stuffing my face with McDonald's.
She went on to do that for a year. Not McDonald's specifically, but
with mayo all over my face. And I just feel like I've said this before. So it's like, I know it's going to seem like rerun for you guys, but I feel like I need to go through this cycle until it finally fully sinks in for me, I guess.
No.
I don't know. But
no, that's why it's a cycle, because there's no end to this. There is this Chantel go, like, I don't remember the Chantel cycle. I don't really care that much. But again, looking at the language of the media that she creates and the patterns that emerge, you have this video, then it will start with, obviously this is the end of December, January will start, and it'll be healthy eating and whatever for like maybe a week. You might get 2 if you're lucky. Then you'll slip back into mukbangs and say, oh, I'm just doing fast food Fridays, or I'm just doing my favorite healthy restaurants. And then a week later, you'll slip into takeout, which then slides into rants in the car, which then slides into a medical emergency, which then we end up back here.
It always comes back to this feeling of guilt, and just like, because a part of me knows what I'm doing is wrong. And I think a lot of the defensiveness,
guilt and shame, there was a discussion in the last video in my comment section that was really good between 2 subscribers, so thank you guys. I did jump in and kind of give my 2 cents on shame in that, but guilt is synonymous there when I think about my internal monologue. Like, I'll feel ashamed about something and I'll feel guilty about something, and those 2 emotions are really quite similar and quite connected.
Watching Life by Jen's video about her food addiction, and it really sunk in for me that a lot of the defensiveness comes from people being right about that part. And
shame is an interesting discussion, and guilt here, because it's kind of like, keep going.
I try to just like,
collect my thought here,
like a coping mechanism, I guess. And like she said, it's comfortable. It's like I'm afraid of dealing with the demons because I just don't feel like, I feel like it might break me.
I don't know if it's fear or if it's just laziness. I'm gonna say it's just laziness. You might be afraid to confront the feelings that you're feeling, but I'd be more afraid of being super morbidly obese. It's just my priority.
So it's just easier to push it away.
Ignore it. That's ignorance,
because like sometimes
is bliss,
I don't know
right?
if I can handle being broken anymore.
It's not.
You know? Any more than I already am. So it's just like, it's depressing stuff, I know, but that's...
Your body is breaking down, Chantel. I think that if you could view it in a different light, your mental health is absolutely so important. But when it comes to health in general, so much of you is breaking down if you don't address the problem.
You know, it's just more comfortable, and it's, you live in denial because it's easier.
Ignorance.
And you feel like you're pushing people out. You know, you don't want them knowing too much about you and stuff like that.
She says this as a vlogger. It drives me crazy. It drives me crazy because the content that she creates is not super heavily produced or monitored. She goes on live streams, she drives around, she shows off her life. So this doesn't make sense.
I feel like
or him.
A lot of people do care about me.
Yes.
I don't feel like it's just trolls wanting the weight loss. I don't feel like people who want to see me do well are trolls. So it kind of just really struck a heart chord.
I want to see her do well.
Want to see me do something
I'm on record
towards my well-being. And part of me just feels like it's just too late. Like all I've ever known is being obsessed with food and surrounded by foods for probably for like 30 years, honestly, of my life.
Just 35 here, 36. So you could call into question the responsibility of a parent in this situation. So if you were in the home for another 12 years and you were developing problems with food that weren't addressed by your household, you know, there may be something that, I wonder what her relationship is like with her mum. Because I know she doesn't talk about her dad very often. But I wonder what her relationship is like with her mum. I don't know if she shows that often.
I'm 35. So it started really young for me. And I never wanted to know why. I never wanted to care about it. I never wanted to give it...
Well, I don't think as a 5-year-old you should be having to deal with your own mental problems. I'm not a parent, so I don't know what that's like to have a kid who is obsessed with food at a young age. And I'm sure I don't really know. I shouldn't really be talking about this, to be fair. I don't know too much about it.
Attention in my mind.
What I was going to say is that she's not a child anymore. Mentally, I think she's not mature at all, and I don't think she's accountable, and I don't think she's truly come into her own as an adult. She absolutely is an adult, but I don't think she acts like one, and that's like a really petty thing to say. But it's so childish to be like, oh well, you're immature. You're immature, and I don't think you're a very good adult. But like, it's my opinion.
At the same time, not realizing that
because an adult takes responsibility
every day, every single day, and I don't want that anymore. It's like mental torture. Like it really is. It's like a prison. So
body's a prison, Chantel.
I know how like ridiculous it looks to say these things to you guys in videos that I then hide and go back to doing mukbangs because it's just easier. You know, it's easy content, it's easy money, it's easy because I don't have to address anything or be accountable for anything. But at the same time, I feel there's always a part of me that just feels bad doing unhealthy mukbangs. Like I don't see anything wrong with me like sharing like a healthy dinner when I'm like that I'm on track with as part of my plan.
Where was this clarity in that live stream? Where was this opinion? This is the opposite opinion.
So after the new year, because New Year's in 2 days and nothing is open, I'm gonna go back to that weight loss doctor and get help from them, because they do want you to check in once a week and hold you accountable. You have to write down every single thing that you eat. I know that Jen and Amy are doing a weight loss challenge, so I wish them luck. It's not going to be easy, that's for sure. I have to just tackle things. You know, I know that therapy, and I've said this before, therapy, I feel uncomfortable at AA for some reason. I think it's opening up to other people that really makes me feel icky. So I might have to struggle with that.
AA is Alcoholics Anonymous? AA. Isn't it OA? Is that Overeaters Anonymous or OEA? I don't know.
I think therapy. Hi, Sam.
I've not been.
Sorry. It's therapy and this weight loss doctor. I'm still waiting to see my new GP so I can ask to be referred for weight loss surgery. I think for me that's going to be a really good tool to kind of just as many tools as I can get, you know. So I'm sorry if I frustrate people with changing my mind constantly. And
it's not your mind that just changes, Chantel, it's your attitude as well. Like, and it's this passive woe is me, pity me party into all of you have no life. How dare you give me your opinions? I'll do what I want. I'll eat what I want. In a year. You can't say you're a different person in a year.
My life is a mess.
Well, okay. No, I take that back. You can. You can. However, over the last 12 months, I did not see Chantel working on herself to become a better person. She has become a worse person than this Chantel, I would argue.
I'm not saying I'm never going to do mukbangs, but I'm going to do different things, not focus so much on food. I definitely have to clean out my apartment of all triggers.
I do feel bad as well because, like, investigating the last year, obviously, she broke up with BB and she had to move in with Pete's. Was there anything else traumatic that happened to Chantel this year? I don't think so. But she's, like I've said, she's an adult and she's not helping herself.
Because for me, with mukbangs, I really, really, really just want to be normal and be like, I can eat this McDonald's and then go about my life. But no, it's not like that for me. Everything in moderation. I'm like, people have kind of questioned whether or not I'm like an advocate for whole food only. I'm not, like, at all. Everything in moderation. The problem is that you are admitting you're a food addict. Whether or not you're diagnosed is still up for discussion. And
you are trying to justify your addictive substance. Because, like, is food addiction an addiction to food, or is it an addiction to a specific, like, type of food? So is it an addiction to, like, high sugar, high carb? I don't know.
I realize now that I can't have a bit of something that is a trigger for me. So it's gonna have to be food that's not, you know? So first things first, I'm clean up my place with all trigger food. Delete all my apps that are like Uber Eats and stuff like that. Anyway, I'm just letting you know what
I've used Uber Eats once, and it was for Baskin & Robbins, and it was for cookie dough ice cream. One time. And that was earlier this year. I gave myself a treat because I reached a milestone. So
it's going through my mind.
You don't have to deprive yourself 100%. And this was a conversation about in the Amber video as well, where it's like everything needs to be 0 to a, like, it's black and white, everything's binary, it's 0 to 100. There are middle points as well. If you set a goal, and in this case it's a diet, and you just want to be healthy the majority of the time, there are ways that you can reward yourself. And I don't believe in food as a reward, but you can give yourself a break, is a better way of me saying it. So if you know, I see it as kind of like a 2-weekly thing, because 1 week I don't think is long enough to make any real impact on my weight loss at this stage. So if I go 2 weeks hitting my calorie goals and not eating a lot of processed crap, I might give myself, like, you know, one good time. And a lot of the times it's, you know, I'll go down the pub with a friend and have a meal and a beer and not tear myself up about it, because I'm not eating it every day.
I'm going to be doing my memory is going to run out, so I don't want to talk too much more about it. But I appreciate those of you
camera memory
who are still here and watching me, and I apologize if I've ever been defensive.
Oh. That live stream isn't up anymore, by the way. That the react I did 2 days ago, that's been taken down. Oh.
I'm just stubborn. I'm really gonna try really hard to work on my character in the new year. Well, just now in general too.
I'm sorry, it's quite rude of me to be laughing at past Chantel about this. She had good intentions.
But thank you for watching me and caring about my life, and I'll see you guys next time.
Bye, Chantel. Wonderful. Well, that's put me in a great mood for the day. Okay, that sounds catty. Her situation didn't improve, guys. She took 2020, and 2020 was a rough year for everyone, and I get it. But, you know, life is what you make of it, and sitting on camera eating, just eating. Sitting on camera and practicing your addiction and then getting mad at your viewers is a whole it's a whole mood, and I don't get it. Anyway, if you got to this point in the video, thank you so much. As always, I appreciate your comments, opinions, and eyeballs, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.